Hello everyone, welcome to Sports Here. On this video, I'm going to predict the 2019 NFL season and standings and record prediction. Please subscribe and share this video with friends and family. The New England Patriots, 12-4.
The New England Patriots are coming off a Super Bowl victory against the Los Angeles Rams, with a final score of 13-3. That was the third time in a row that the Patriots have made the Super Bowl. They have also won 3 Super Bowl games in the last 5 seasons. I absolutely think the New England Patriots will have another fabulous season with a great offense with Tom Brady leading them, and great defense too. So my prediction is that the New England Patriots will win the AFC East.
The New York Jets, 8-8.
The New York Jets had a horrible season last year by going 4-12 in the 2018 season. That was also the rookie season for Sam Darnold, who was drafted in the first round and 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. They have had a losing record for the last 3 seasons in a row, haven't won more than 10 games since the 2015 season. But that's not the worst part of it. They haven't made the playoffs since the 2010 season when their quarterback back then was Mark Sanchez. I absolutely think the New York Jets will be a more improved team overall in the 2019 season and maybe could be over 500 team this year for the first time since 2015.
The Buffalo Bills, 6-10.
The Buffalo Bills did not have a good season at all in 2018, going 6-10 in the season and finishing 3rd place in the AFC East. After the previous year in the 2017 season, they did make the playoffs for the first time since the 1999 season. I definitely think the Buffalo Bills will not be a playoff team for the 2019 season, but will be a little bit more improved for the new season. Maybe in the near future they can possibly be a playoff contender.
The Miami Dolphins, 2-14.
The Miami Dolphins had an okay season last year by going 7-9 in the regular season and finishing 2nd place in the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins have only made the playoffs once in the 2010s, and that year was in 2016. Since then, they have been under 500 for the last 2 seasons in a row. I suspect the Miami Dolphins will be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season, if not the worst team overall in the NFL.
So that's my AFC East standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The Cleveland Browns, 11-5.
The Cleveland Browns are looking to win their first division title since the 1989 season when Bernie Kosar was their quarterback. They did have a much better season last year with a record of 7-8-1 than they did the previous season in 2016 when they went 0-16. Last year was the best offensive season in points scored since 2007, when they scored a total of 402 points in that season. I absolutely think the Cleveland Browns will win their division for the first time since the 1989 season, and will have a deep run in the playoffs for the first time since the 2002 season.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, 10-6.
The Pittsburgh Steelers did have a disappointing season last year by having a 9-6-1 record and not making the playoffs either. Last year, I thought they would have a deep playoff run, but that didn't happen. That also ended a streak of making the playoffs for 4 consecutive seasons in a row. The last time they made a Super Bowl appearance was way back in 2010 season, when the Steelers lost to the Green Bay Packers 31-25. I suspect the Pittsburgh Steelers will have a better season overall and will be a contender for the division title this season.
The Baltimore Ravens, 8-8. The Baltimore Ravens had a good season last year by going 10-6 in the 2018 season. Last year was also the first time the Ravens had made the playoffs since 2014, after missing the playoffs the previous 3 seasons in a row.
On February 13th, the Ravens traded Super Bowl MVP quarterback Joe Flacco to the Denver Broncos for a 4th round pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, and that ended his decade-long tenure at the Baltimore Ravens. Now Lamar Jackson takes over as franchise quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. I suspect the Baltimore Ravens will have a good season and could be a wildcard team this year.
The Cincinnati Bengals, 6-10.
The Cincinnati Bengals did not go to the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive year in a row, and their record last season was 6-10 on the 2018 season. The last time they made the playoffs was back in the 2015 season when they went 12-4 on that season and losing the AFC wildcard game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did hire a new coach named Zach Taylor. I positively think the Cincinnati Bengals won't be that good this season, and most likely won't have a good chance of making the playoffs either.
So that's my AFC North standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The Kansas City Chiefs, 13-3.
The Kansas City Chiefs had a fantastic season last year by going 12-4 in the regular season and getting the first seed in the AFC playoffs. They did make it to the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots and losing that game 37-31. Even though they lost that game, it was still an amazing season overall. I absolutely think the Kansas City Chiefs will have a fantastic season and maybe could win Super Bowl 54 as long as their defense is improved on the new season.
The Los Angeles Chargers, 12-4.
The Los Angeles Chargers had a super great season last year by making the playoffs with a record 12-4. That was the first time that the Chargers had made the playoffs with Anthony Lynn as head coach. But unfortunately, they did lose that game against the New England Patriots in the AFC divisional round 41-28. Last year ended a streak of 4 consecutive seasons in a row of missing the playoffs, and that started back in 2014. I absolutely think the Los Angeles Chargers will be a more improved team on the new season and will be a threat for a division title.
The Denver Broncos, 6-10.
The Denver Broncos did not have a good season at all in 2018, going 6-10 in the season. That was the second year in a row of being under 500 for the season. They haven't made the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl back in 2015, and that game was against the Carolina Panthers with a final score of 24-10. That was also the last game that Peyton Manning played in his fabulous career. I absolutely think the Denver Broncos will be a more improved team for the 2019 season, but won't make the playoffs this year.
The Oakland Raiders, 5-11.
The Oakland Raiders did not have a season to remember last year with a record of 4-12. Last season was the second year in a row that they had missed the playoffs and had a record under 500. Since the 2000 season, the Oakland Raiders have only made 4 playoff appearances and going to the Super Bowl once in the 2002 season and losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game. But since then, they have only made the playoffs once, and that was in 2016. I certainly think the Oakland Raiders will be a more improved team this season, but honestly, I don't see them making the playoffs at all this season. So that's my AFC West standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go.
The Houston Texans, 9-7.
The Houston Texans did have an amazing season last year by going 11-5 in the season. They did lose in the AFC wildcard game against the Indianapolis Colts with a final score of 21-7. In the last 3 out of 4 seasons, the Houston Texans have gone to the playoffs, but the deepest they've ever gone in the playoffs was the AFC divisional round 3 times in franchise history. I absolutely think the Houston Texans will be the best team in the AFC South this season and will most likely win their division title.
The Tennessee Titans, 8-8.
The Tennessee Titans have won the same amount of games in the last 3 seasons in a row, going 9-7 in those seasons. They have only made the playoffs once since Jeff Fisher was let go, and that year was in 2017 season, and losing in the AFC divisional round against the New England Patriots with a final score of 35-14. I absolutely think the Tennessee Titans will be a 500 team for the season and could possibly maybe win their division title, or maybe if they're really lucky could get a wild card spot.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, 7-9.
The Jacksonville Jaguars had a really disappointing season last year by going 5-11. The reason why last season was so disappointing for the Jacksonville Jaguars was because they were Super Bowl contenders from the beginning of the 2018 season. They didn't even make the playoffs either that year. But that's not the worst part, because they were under 500 for the season and finished in 4th place in the AFC South. In the 2017 season, they did go to the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots and losing 24-20. I absolutely think the Jacksonville Jaguars will have a lot better season this year, but won't be a playoff team this season.
The Indianapolis Colts, 6-10.
The Indianapolis Colts did have a great season last year by going to the playoffs for the first time since the 2014 season. They did lose in the AFC divisional round game against the Kansas City Chiefs with a final score 31-14. The Indianapolis Colts were Super Bowl contenders this season until August 24th when Andrew Luck announced his retirement after 7 seasons in the NFL at the age of 29 years old. I absolutely think the Colts won't be that good this season and won't make the playoffs either.
So that's my AFC South standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The Philadelphia Eagles, 12-4.
The Philadelphia Eagles have made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2008 to 2010. In the playoffs last season, they did make it to the divisional round game against the New Orleans Saints and losing 20-14. But overall, their season last year was a good season overall with a record of 9-7. I absolutely think the Philadelphia Eagles will be one of the best teams in the NFL this season and could win Super Bowl 54.
The Dallas Cowboys, 10-6.
The Dallas Cowboys did have a great season last year by going 10-6 in the season and making the playoffs. They did lose in the NFC divisional round game against the Los Angeles Rams with a final score of 30-22. Even though they lost in that game, their season was still a success. On September 4th, Elliott agreed to a 6-year extension with the Dallas Cowboys worth $90 million. I absolutely think the Dallas Cowboys will be a good team again and will be a threat for a division title this season.
The Washington Redskins, 5-11.
The Washington Redskins had an okay season overall in 2018, but they did have a record 7-9 on the season. They had finished in 3rd place in the last 3 seasons in a row and winning the same amount of games for the last 2 seasons in a row too. The last time the Washington Redskins made the playoffs was way back in the 2015 season when they lost in the NFC wildcard game against the Green Bay Packers with a final score of 35-18.
I absolutely think the Washington Redskins will decrease in wins this season, and I foresee them not making the playoffs either this season. The New York Giants, 4-12.
The New York Giants did not have a good season at all in 2018 with a record 5-11 on the season. They haven't had a winning record since 2016 when they went to the playoffs. In that season, they did go to the NFC wildcard game against the Green Bay Packers and losing 38-13. I absolutely think the New York Giants won't be that good this season, and maybe they could get a first-round pick in the NFL draft.
So that's my NFC East standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The Green Bay Packers, 12-4.
The Green Bay Packers did not have a season to remember last year by going 6-9-1 in the season. They haven't had a winning record in a season since 2016 when they went to the NFC Championship game against the Atlanta Falcons and losing in that game 44-21. If the Green Bay Packers this season want to be contender this year, their defense needs to step up big time this season. I absolutely think the Green Bay Packers will have a bounce back year this season and could possibly win their division title and maybe even make a Super Bowl appearance too.
The Chicago Bears, 11-5.
The Chicago Bears had a great season last year, but ended right away in the NFC wildcard game against the Philadelphia Eagles with a final score of 16-15. Last season for the Bears was the first time on having a winning record since the 2012 season, but in that season they didn't even make the playoffs. The last time they had a winning record in the same season they made the playoffs was way back in 2010. They did eventually lose in that NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers with a final score of 21-14. By all means, I think the Chicago Bears will have a great team again this season and will be a contender for the division title and could have a deep playoff run too.
The Minnesota Vikings, 8-8.
The Minnesota Vikings were Super Bowl contenders last season, but they didn't even make the playoffs either last season. But for the most part, their season was a disappointing season overall last year. If the Vikings want to go back to the playoffs this season, their defense needs to get better, and their offense needs to improve on scoring points per game too. I positively think the Minnesota Vikings will have a good season and could possibly make a wildcard spot on the new season.
The Detroit Lions, 5-11.
The Detroit Lions did not have a good season at all in 2018, going 6-10 and finishing 4th place in the NFC North. They have missed the postseason for the last 2 seasons in a row, and the last time they made the playoffs was way back in 2016, losing to the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC wildcard game. I absolutely think the Detroit Lions won't be that good this season and won't make the playoffs either.
So that's my NFC North standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The Los Angeles Rams, 12-4.
The Los Angeles Rams went to the Super Bowl last year and lost to the New England Patriots with a final score of 13-3. Even though they lost that game, it was still a great season for the Rams. That was the first time that the Rams have made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons since 2003 to 2004. That was also the first time I'm having a winning record in back-to-back seasons since 2003 to 2004. I absolutely think the Los Angeles Rams will have a great chance of going back to the Super Bowl this season.
The Seattle Seahawks, 10-6.
The Seattle Seahawks did have a great season last year by going to the playoffs with a record of 10-6. They did lose right away in the playoffs last season in the NFC wildcard game against the Dallas Cowboys with a final score of 24-22. On August 31st, the Seahawks traded for Jadeveon Clowney, who replaces Frank Clark, who was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs in the offseason. I absolutely think the Seattle Seahawks will be a great team again and could possibly get a wildcard spot on the new season.
The San Francisco 49ers, 8-8.
The San Francisco 49ers were not a good team at all last season with a record 4-12. They haven't made the playoffs in 5 seasons in a row, and the last time they made the playoffs, their quarterback was Colin Kaepernick in the 2013 season. The last season they had an over 500 record was back in 2014. I absolutely think the San Francisco 49ers will have a better season overall, but won't make the playoffs either this season.
The Arizona Cardinals, 4-12.
The Arizona Cardinals had a horrible season last year with a record 3-13. They haven't made the playoffs since the 2015 season when they went to the NFC Championship game against the Carolina Panthers and losing 49-15. I certainly think the Arizona Cardinals won't be that good this season at all.
So that's my NFC West standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. The New Orleans Saints, 14-2.
The New Orleans Saints did have a great season last year until the NFC Championship game when a no call on a blatant pass interference call that should have given the Saints an automatic first down and sending the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl instead of the Rams. The Saints have gone to the postseason in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2009 to 2011.
I absolutely think the New Orleans Saints will have a fantastic chance of winning the Super Bowl this season. The Atlanta Falcons, 9-7.
The Atlanta Falcons didn't have a good season at all last year, going 7-9 in the season. That was also the first time that they had missed the playoffs since 2015. That was the first losing season the Falcons have had under head coach Dan Quinn. I certainly think the Atlanta Falcons will be an improved team this season and maybe could have a wildcard spot.
The Carolina Panthers, 8-8.
The Carolina Panthers season last year was a disappointing season overall by going 7-9 in the season. They didn't even make the playoffs either last season. Since the 2013 season, the Panthers have made the playoffs 4 times out of the last 6 seasons, and the 2 times they have missed the playoffs were in 2016 and 2018. I absolutely think the Carolina Panthers will be a better team overall this season, and maybe they could have a wildcard spot.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 3-13.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not have a season to remember at all in 2018, going 5-11 on the season. They haven't made the playoffs since 2007, and their last winning record was back in 2016 when they went 9-7 on that season. I absolutely think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be one of the worst teams this season and could possibly get a first-round pick in the NFL Draft next year.
So that's my NFC South standings predictions for the 2019 season. Here you go. So I would like to hear your guys' predictions on the 2019 NFL season. Leave your comments below and tell me what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching Sportster. Please subscribe and share this video with friends and family. And don't forget, you just keep loving sports, and I'll see you next time.